And let's record it. Did it say that on your end too? Recording in progress.
She told me she's recording.
Okay. Well, I'm Bernard, founder of Black Techno Matters, and I'm sitting here with MerlinBerlin, who will be releasing the Lens Shift EP on the Black Techno Matters music label this Friday. So go to our website, go to the Instagram link tree, go to that pre-order link, go grab it. But we're gonna sit here and chat about the records. So hello, MerlinBerlin.
Hey, how you doing, Bernard?
Doing great. And your real name is Angie. Right?
Yes.
I can call you Angie. That's okay. Okay.
Angie's perfect.
So my first question is actually the artist name, MerlinBerlin. Where did MerlinBerlin come from?
MerlinBerlin comes in two parts. The first part is just, a lot of times in my head, I'm just like playing with puns. I'm just like, oh, these are two funny words that go together. And it's always just like popped up in my head as a thing. When I first started just creating music and sounds and decided I had to put them out there, it's like I need an artist name. It was the two names that came together. But the second part is that it kind of really works, with my sound, with my inspiration. Like Merlin, I love fantasy and, magic and things like that. Merlin's, one of the best wizards in fantasy history. And then, you have Berlin, which is, a huge techno culture. And just like a lot of my sound, I felt like, especially in the beginning, was like very influenced by that. And I felt like it just worked together. And so that with the perfect circumstance that no one else was really using it. We put it together and MerlinBerlin was born. So
nice. Yeah, I love the way it plays with fantasy and yeah, the Berlin techno, that whole vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fantasy. And I hear a lot of fantasy in your music, so I think that it's a great fit. So MerlinBerlin, and we're talking about the Lens Shift EP. So that's my next question. Lens Shift. What does that mean? Where did that come from?
Lens Shift. So a lot of the songs in the EP follow this story, this journey from going from dark to light. And there's a lot of reflection. There's a lot of reflection when I was writing the music and reflecting mirrors, things like that. I thought of lens. It's another thing I love is space and astronomy. The concept of distortion from gravitational lensing, things like that. I feel like Lens Shift worked perfectly. It also, and I love the concept of shift, there's a lot of shifting in my music. There's like I said, that dark to light. And in my journey in writing this EP, I kind of had to shift my perspective. I was like, was writing one way, and then I was like, wow, like I got darker and darker, like darker than I expected. And, I kind of had to shift my perspective, my lens, and, put together a lens shift. So it's a journey. And I'm really proud of it, actually. Like, I think I really successfully played with my sound in a way that I feel like shows growth, and I can't wait to share it.
Nice. So how does Lens Shift fit into the MerlinBerlin catalog? Is this your third release? Is that right?
Yeah, third
Okay.
EP, third compilation of tracks for myself. When I first started putting out music, like I said, it just was a thing. I was just creating sounds and putting it out there. All those tracks came on the compilation EP called Get Lost. That follows a story of a traveler going through space and just getting lost, kind of paralleling my journey of getting lost, having fun with music. And my second EP is Living Moon, which follows a journey that space traveler as they land on a moon, and crazy things ensue. And with those two EPs, I have like a full story concept. So Lens Shift is my third EP, and I said, like, I just wanted to try some different sounds. I wanted to play with my sound. I wanted to just play with different concepts. And so Lens Shift is more of a series of vignettes of you know, series of phenomena and anomalies in space that kind of parallel my life journey as well. So that's where Lens Shift lands on the MerlinBerlin catalog. A little more dark, a little darker, a little more techno, you know. Couldn't wait to play with those different elements, and I think I succeeded here.
Yeah, there's 5 tracks on the EP, and it really each track really does have its own kind of like feel to it. Like to me, it takes me to like different places. They're all in space. They all feel like they're in space somewhere. You're right. It's a little dark, but I still feel some fantasy. And there's still a flow. I like you said, dark to light. I think I'm thinking about that last track, Zeta Ring, which we'll get to. That one puts a smile on my face like every time I listen to it. But okay, enough of what I think about it.
More of that.
So Lens Shift. Oh, I have to ask this. Okay, so I'm a nerd. Blue shift, red shift, in space. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yep. Like how far an object is, how like close it is. Yeah.
Okay. Just make sure we're on the same page there.
We're in the same universe.
Yep. So I love asking questions about the names because you put a lot of thought. It seems like you put a lot of thought into these titles. Like, the first track is called Speculum. So I have to ask, why Speculum? Tell us about Speculum.
So, those of us who, go to the doctor for certain things, yes, we know speculum is one thing, but speculum is also a reflective surface, kind of like a tarnished or like brandished like metal, like that can reflect. Back in early human days, that's what we used for reflecting, and even telescopes lens. So I kind of thought of like just this like distorted mirror world, like so we have somebody who's just going through space, and they're in typical 3D world, and then they end in pocket dimensions, and in this pocket dimension there's like all kinds of like lensing going on, and just like it's just so it's disorienting. It's like, what's going on here? And so in Speculum I kind of wanted to create this like dark cavernous sound of just like it's this looming bass, it's this chugging rhythm, and you're going, and then suddenly we have this big beat section, and that kind of, it was intended to be a little jarring actually, kind of the way that it would be if you entered a pocket dimension, pretty jarring stuff. And things are closer than they appear, they're further than they appear, they just appear strange, and but I felt like it also kind of reflected my personal journey, in general in life, like just I always feel like you're going to be all right if you come out as your true self, and it's kind of like a funhouse experience in my head of this, mirror dimension world. And it's like, everything's gonna be fine if you come out on the right, in the right way. Like you are your true self coming out of this dimension. And I feel like that paralleled for me this, like, it matters to me that I'm always like expressing myself honestly and authentically. And like, that's I really wanted that to come through in this track. And so it's just part one of this journey that, like I said, takes you to clarity, awareness, light, things like that. So, but this is part one of the journey, and we're starting in the trenches.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And it's not always pretty when you start, right? Like okay, so before we get too deep into all the tracks, I want to back up. And so you're talking about this concept, this pocket dimension. So when you make your music, and you're doing a workshop on Thursday, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
With Connect Tribe, right?
Yep.
And you're going to talk about Studio One and how, because that's the software you use, right?
Yeah, I use Studio One.
So tell me about that. Like, how do you take these concepts and then go into Studio One and like start making stuff happen? What does that look like? What does that process look like?
So the process can look different, depending on like what my intention is. For this, sometimes I just kind of go in like my samples, and I'm just kind of like pulling, I pull a drum, and I'm like, okay, like listening, clicking, you know the drill. Like, what is the sound that I'm even trying to start with? And, once I kind of lay down my percussion, and then I'm kind of like, okay, what kind of groove are we trying to go with? And then, or are we starting with a groove even? So then I just kind of, I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of drag and drop some samples in to see what's connecting with me, seeing if like, okay, this is a start. Maybe we can put these back, but I kind of know the direction. Sometimes I take a couple like synth loops and stuff, and I'm like, this almost sounds good. I'm just gonna create it in Pigments. So,
Hmm.
like, or use like a editor and just kind of be like, listen, just a little, like, take down that high end a little bit or something. But
Hmm.
that's kind of how I do my like just lay down the concept in Studio One. The thing I did love about Studio One is just like everything is just so drag and drop, and I'm just like, all right, it kind of helps me focus on the creativeness, on what I'm looking for my creative aspect, instead of like, you know, trying to like match a sound or like mixing right away. Like, I can just focus on just where are we even starting. So
Hmm.
that's where we start with Studio One.
Nice. Um, so tell me more. So the workshop coming up, tell me more about that. What is that event gonna look like? And then I guess, how did you get into Studio One? Because that's not, I hear a lot of producers are like Ableton
Mm-hmm.
or
Logic,
Logic,
FL, yeah.
Bell. So what? Yeah, how did Studio One? How did that call you?
Yeah, so and I'll definitely go over this in the class as well, because so when I first started creating music in for Get Lost, all those tracks were um, created using just like literal music creation program that was on a CD that is definitely no longer in existence, and like it's
I
like
know
a
what you mean.
legacy product at this point.
Yeah.
And but I just found it, towards the end of 2020, and just was like, what if I just made music in here? Like, what if I just picked it up and just started making songs that were reminiscent of songs that, me and my friends would dance to or something. And I loved just the simplicity of that program. Like, I didn't have to have technical experience or engineering experience. So all that to say, I kind of just came into this with no experience. No, knowing the rules and stuff like that. But after Get Lost came out, a lot of my friends who were like in music and like, oh yeah, like I do music and stuff, they're like, use Studio One. Like, you can do even more things with your sound. And they lent me their activations, for that, and like Native Instruments. And they're like, yeah, no, like, you make some cool stuff. Here, take this. I bought Complete Control. Like, use my activation.
Nice.
So, people, if you love somebody in your life, don't be stingy with your activation licenses. So,
It
it
goes a long way.
really does. Like, I just was really fortunate to have people around me who were like, you're doing some cool shit. Like, use this. And because a lot of those people were doing, like, they like record bands and things like that. And Studio One, it has a lot of features that are just, it's just like kind of like an all-in-one kind of DAW, instead of just like, oh, I can produce here or be live in here. You can master, you can mix, you can record, you can track, all these things. So and like they're all in different like spheres of music and stuff. So even though like in electronic music we're mostly like Ableton, FL, things like that, I saw how Studio One worked for me, because it looked almost exactly like the old DAW that I used to make Get Lost. The transition was really smooth, and it wasn't hard for me at all, really. And it kind of helped me to learn backwards on how to actually produce and actually, apply real mixing techniques to my music. And, you hear that growth in my sound, and I'm really fortunate, and I love that platform. And I don't know if I'm a stan, but like, I really appreciate like how Studio One also just runs things. They have tutorials and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's really easy to work with.
I mean, I personally like that approach of like kind of diving in and then going back and doing it, finding the technical stuff. I guess you're supposed to the way you're supposed to do it. I guess, but I
Right, the
think
rules.
but I think there's a lot of freedom in just kind of diving in and exploring. And I feel like you might, at least for me, like do things that you might not do if you were just like following the rules the first time. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, my husband Andre, who's Judge Drudge, in his own music sphere, like he's been producing for 20 years, and like he was one of the people that showed me Studio One, and at first he was like showing me all these like things. I'm like, I'll figure it out. And then I came back and like after a few months and like I'm showing him like, here's a song, like could you give me some feedback? And he's like, well, how did you do that? And so, apparently like I'm teaching some people who've been, like this like a few of my other friends as well. And it's just like teaching people like just a different way of like approaching music and approaching even the program itself,
Yeah.
for creativity. So yeah, there's value in definitely having another perspective, another lens to see music from.
Another lens, yes. Okay, so wait, now I want to get back into the music. If that's cool. Okay,
All good.
second track, For the Unfathoms. Okay, well, tell me about one. I'm a numbers person, so
Yes.
there's a 40 in there, and I'm like, where is this 40 coming from? Like, what does it mean?
So I'm gonna work backwards here. So, so fathoms, it's a measurement for depth of water, in the ocean. And a lot of times, people apply, seafaring things to space sometimes. And so I felt like, with how much is unknown about space, and let's say like you're traveling in this space where there's like pocket dimensions and stuff, where are you really going? How far really is everything? How deep is it? So I thought of the word unfathomable, and then, fathoms, well, we'll just call it an unfathom. And 40, so I don't know, this is going to be the most obscure reference of all time, but in the game Tomb Raider 2, the classic version on PlayStation Classic, there's a level called 40 Fathoms, and you're just like starting out in this like deep, dark ocean, and there's just like this organ that just like fades in, and it's just like, and then suddenly there's like a shark coming your way. And it's like one of the levels where Lara Croft is like in like a scuba gear with like a harpoon or something. And like, so it's like
cool.
dangerous, it's deep, it's dark. And I just like had this same imagery in my head while I'm writing this track. Where it's just kind of like, I also wanted to kind of create a cavernous, like uncertain feeling. I use these dissonant synths and pads and this like rolling pensive bass. And it's just like, I kind of wanted to create that kind of, unknowing environment. So that's the track name, 40 Unfathoms, and just like the concept around it and like how I created that sound.
That's a really cool reference. I had no idea that was a reference. I didn't really play Tomb Raider games, so but that like tickled me. As soon as you said that.
Yeah, it's just I love that. I love that series. Like the old like series was one of my favorites in gaming history. And yeah, it's such a just that opening of that level just like lives rent free in my head. So kind of was excited to write a song. So,
That's cool. That's cool. I like this the unfathom. I think of now with the world today, like there's a kind of like unknowing happening. Like an unlearning of things, coming out of the depths of one thing and being somewhere else. So I don't know. That's where it took me when you said that.
No, I mean, and you're right. I mean, it's similar to what I mentioned. Like, lens shift is a journey that parallels like real life and my life, and there's uncertainty. There's like you don't know where you're going, not just like in just fantastical worlds, but for real. Like, like how far are we going in a certain direction? Like, like are you ready to commit in this direction? Do you need to make a shift? These are these are questions that come up when you're just like, what is going on? So,
Hmm.
yeah, 40 Unfathoms definitely touches on that.
Nice.
Um,
Okay. Okay. I'm making my way down the track list here.
yeah.
Albedo. What is that? Is that a name? What is albedo?
So albedo references how a surface, like reflects or absorbs like sunlight. Let's just say
Ah,
like in planetary science, that's how it is. Um, Relevant to how the world is today. You can see it like I think people reference albedo and climate change as well, like certain like Antarctica or something, where like the ice is like absorbing more sunlight than reflecting it, and that means there's a be more warming, and
okay. So this is
we all
so
know how
this
that's going. So
so this is a term I should know. Apparently, I was like,
yeah,
this seems
yeah.
like a nice name.
I mean, I think there's like a god or something named Albedo too. Like, I mean, it's a cool word. Like, so yeah, apply it how you wish. Yeah, Albedo. I kind of, again, touching on like dark and light. I felt like um, it just. I feel like there's so much of both in this song. This is where we start shifting from like complete darkness and absence of light to there is some light. I have a bright lead that I use about like a quarter into the song, and I just introduce that in there. And it's like it's playful, it's like it's bright, it's catchy, and it comes in a big way at the end of like the break, for instance. And it's like so we have this like this like kind of darkness with like the little like bass like like that portion in the beginning, and then we then it goes into that break, and that was something that was very different for me, was this like very percussion break.
Yeah, I
I
love
don't
the
usually do
percussion.
that. Like I usually am like leading with my synths and um carrying a lot of elements from the beginning of the song into the break to the end. And here I just like said, we're just gonna have this space, in the song. But there's definitely still movement in the song. I introduced a lot of elements I don't use anywhere else. But then it comes out, and then we have this like moody ending, and it's like it's moody, but also full and not as much cavernous and empty, but like we're starting to get a little bit of light and life and clarity in the music. So that's kind of where Albedo goes. And first thing that comes to my head is the moon Iapetus, which is like half dark and half light. And, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, so this track is one of my favorite moments in the EP, and actually it's just one of my favorite qualities about your music in general, where like there's a moment, something happens, something shifts in the music, and I literally have to look down. I'm like, is this the same song? I have to make sure it's the same song because I know how you are, and like you start one place and you take it somewhere else, and then somehow you make it all like come together nicely. And that moment in this track, it's like the last minute or two, it's like and I played this out, I'm not gonna lie, I played this track out the last time I played it. It was my last set at the Hour Room, and I played this track, and I had something playing over the first 4 minutes over that like darker part, and then when that like I thought it seemed a little brighter. I thought it was almost like a watery reflecting. That's the vibe I was getting from it, and I just love how it just really transformed. I mean, it's not jarring, but it's like you notice it, you feel it in the music. So like, how do you like? It's not a normal kind of arrangement. So like, how did you get there? What led to that?
So I will say that this was probably one of the tracks that I had worked on when I was taking a long train ride.
Ah,
Was definitely this was the track that I had spent most of the time. I had taken a train from DC to Florida to go visit my mom. I had an unfortunate
long train ride.
yeah, I had an unfortunate life situation. I had to go see my mom, and I'm like, I just don't see myself taking a plane. There was just so much going on. I'm just like, but I have to be there. So, and I'm like, but I have plenty of things I have to do. It's like, you know what I can do? Write music. You got 20 hours each way
Hmm.
to write music. You gonna write this music. And so it was definitely there, but like I feel like that shift happened. Like the shift in the song was almost like exactly the same shift that I was making and like
Hmm.
traveling and like needing to be present and like it's kind of like snaps you back into the
Hmm.
song, that
Hmm.
shift. And it's like, oh, this, but then you realize this is the same song. And it's like, no, it's not different. It's the same song with new layers. And that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, just accepting that. That was like one of the things that like I had to kind of shift my perspective. I was like, ooh, that's jarring. But you know what? It all comes together and it kind of makes me want to twirl at the end. Like it's like, oh, this is good. This is vibey. This is positive. So
Yeah,
felt
no,
like I just wanted to go with that.
yeah, that's one of my favorite moments on the record. It's good. Um,
Good.
uh, okay, next track, The Rim. So
Yes.
this one for me, this is a banger. I mean, this is if I were to pick one track and play it every time I DJ, like for the next several months, like I feel like I could drop it in a set, and people would be like, "What? Yeah, yeah, what is this?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, the okay percussion. I know you said usually lead with a sense, but the percussion on the rim is really good. So tell me, like, how did you get like how did those textures and percussion come together?
So like I mentioned, like I wanted to kind of try different things with the CP, and again, percussion was a major thing that I wanted to amplify in the CP. So the rim, as soon as I heard that drone bass, like like
Yeah, yeah,
I was like, I have to use it. Like that was like one of those things where like I'm in Studio One and I'm just like, all right, like drag drop. Like that was like the second thing. I was like, ooh, okay, we're using this um for sure. And then you have like the little like like the little like blips that kind of go. I kind of wanted those to be just like very high in your ears and just like kind of like switching between like your left and right. And I just really wanted like this like swirling experience in the song. The percussion is swirling, the synths are swirling. And then like I found this one like chord and I'm just like, no, we're using that. Like and I just manipulated it. It's like the track itself, like the sample itself. I put like a ton of delays on the inserts.
yeah.
Again, breaking the rules a little bit and just kind of just created its own sound. And I thought that that was really cool. And it kind of like the swirling and like these like bright electro elements. It kind of, we're going back into space. Kind of thought of like what some conceptual artists use to create black hole, like or visualize black holes and like the edge of a black hole.
Hmm. Hmm.
I wanted this feeling of being like, on the edge and like possibly like, you see like the rim of the black hole and you're just like, wow, this is monumental. This is like, you know, it's a phenomenon. So yeah, that's what I had visually going on for the rim and how I made that sound. And it just I agree with you. I also plan to play that out every time I'm out there.
I hope so. Yeah.
The rim is definitely one of my favorites on the EP too. It was a banger. I played it at Headroom for to just kind of test drive it, see if everything was coming through the way that I intended, and it beat my expectations. So yeah, I outdid myself there.
I mean, like you mentioned this, like it's very spatial. Like, yeah, I feel like maybe it might be of all the tracks, the one where there's just like, all these elements kind of swirling around. I feel like there's a lot of space. There's like a lot of cool, like the percussion sounds kind of metallic to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, but also it's like very fluid. How it flows. There's a lot of space in between the elements. I don't know. It's just like it's a vibe. It's like a total vibe.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely wanted I definitely wanted that track to stand out. It just
Yeah.
was it's just absolutely like a banger for me. It just I'm proud of myself for that one. And I felt like that was where I married a lot of like my typical sound with the sound that I'm playing with on this EP. And that track gave me a lot of confidence with it as well. That like I knew that this is a collection of tracks that go together, and they work, and it's definitely a part of this journey. So
So the
yeah,
Merlin Berlin space is expanding. The Merlin Berlin universe is expanding here. Is that what
to
I'm hearing?
Universe Two,
Universe too.
Universe Two. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The last one, which is actually, I mean, this is a great ending to the EP. As soon as I heard this one, I was like, yes. Okay. Zeta Ring. Um, I know clocks in at like 140 something.
Yeah,
B
145.
145 BPM. It's a nice
Yeah.
fast speed. It's giving me, it's a little trancey. It's giving me kind of like, it takes me back. Oh my God, I don't want to date myself. It's nostalgic. Let's put that a little. But still, it sounds very modern. The melodies, like the synth sounds you're talking about, they're like right up in front. So yeah, was that the last track you wrote? It just sounds so like the bright, like you said, like dark to light. It sounds like the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's like, tell me more about how this track came about.
Yeah, you're 1,000% correct. There's definitely those trance influences. Like I love multiple genres of music, like electronic music too. It's just like I'm not married to one genre. I love, you'll hear that in my sound. Like I love trance, I love techno. There's a little synthwave in there. It's just like I wanted to bring together all the things I love and close this EP on a bright track, on a bright level. Like I said, it goes from like dark, uncertainty, disorientation to like light, clarity. I'm here, like you're aware of it. That's what I love about this track, and I feel like it belonged here because it's just, again, like it dovetails that ending perfectly. The cool thing about when I was writing this or touching up this track, I was like touching it up, and I was home from my travels, and it was about the time when the James Webb Telescope had captured Uranus's Zeta Ring. Usually the Zeta Ring is it's very hard to capture in images, and I think it had only been captured like really clearly by Voyager, I think, one of the Voyagers, and I feel like it's like the image is beautiful. Like you have to look at it. Like just type in Uranus Zeta Ring James Webb, and it's just like those images that James Webb's been capturing is just like absolutely like outstanding stuff, and just this new perspective on like what do things look like in space. And it just really like, as an astronomy nerd, it just really just like spoke to me like, wow, like like James Webb it took forever to finally get up there, and then it's out here just doing its thing. And Zeta Ring, it just was so bright, it was beautiful. I'm also, for those who know me, I'm also a Zeta, the Black Story.
Okay.
So it just, all of it just kind of really came together. It's just like, these are bits and pieces of me that bring me joy. Space, James Webb doing its thing, me being a Zeta, blue, good thing. So, it just really like everything just kind of came together with this track, and it just kind of couldn't belong anywhere else to me. So
well, it's a beautiful ending to the record, uplifting. The astronomy nerd, I'm loving the astronomy nerd that I'm hearing here. I'm learning things. I was in astronomy club back in high school, and I clearly forget. I haven't kept it up. So
I'm sure things will like jog your memory once you like hear it. It's one of my passions, and so is like science fiction. And so when I get to like have any opportunity to like marry those two and just like here's some hard science, but then here's some crazy things that come to mind, like anything from like music. Like I'm definitely like inspired by books, sci-fi books and things like that. It's just like I feel like writing music is the best way to like kind of illustrate the images that come to mind when
Hmm.
I like immerse myself in a story. So, you know, it's, anime too, like, just like really fantastical things, like in audio format is kind of, I guess, how I describe myself.
Yeah. Fantasy, giving us that fantasy.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the Lynch Shift EP is coming out Friday. We also got the release party on
Yes.
Saturday.
Gramophone.
Yep, we'll be at Gramophone listening to the Lynch Shift EP. You'll be able to hear Angie, aka MerlinBerlin, talking about it, and then I'm gonna do a DJ set.
Yes.
All black women. All I already got the playlist. So like it. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm not even ready. Like, should I just have like Shazam like next to you? Like,
Yes, yes. Seriously, you should,
yeah.
because it's fire. It's like it's so much fire, and
Oh my
it felt good.
goodness.
Even just like I don't think I've ever like done that. I don't think I've ever like filtered my collection like that before. So it's cool. It made me feel, gave me some pride. Let's say that.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
I love
Uh,
that. I'm so excited.
but beyond that, is there anything else in the pipeline for MerlinBerlin, or can you give us any hints of what's coming up in the future?
Well, I'm reading, which means there will be some
Hmm.
when I read, there's gonna be music. Like,
Yep.
so definitely writing some tracks. We've got really hoping to get like a more purely synthwave kind of collection of tracks coming out soon. Definitely putting some remixes out there pretty soon. Just there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline, and I can't wait to just, some of them are gonna be dropped, some of them are just gonna be like surprise, like,
Hmm.
so definitely lots to come this year. And I'll be in between, hosting sonic sessions and,
Yes.
like other activities and things like that. Like I'm just really grateful for like having so much space and room to just be creative, and like use that and also just find other ways for the community to like immerse itself in creativity. I think as long as we keep our imaginations open and, we allow ourselves to express ourselves in the best way we can, whether that's visual art, music, like, if we have space for that, I think we're going places,
Hmm.
So yeah. And thank you for BTM and just like all this amazing, the way that you have platform artists, you give artists room to do what they want to do and like try new things. It's really powerful. So y'all are doing great things.
Well, on that, I think that's a good note to end on. So, thank you again, Angie, MerlinBerlin,
Yes.
for sitting down and talking with me. The Lynch Shift EP comes out this Friday, March 8th, on the Black Techno Matters music label. You know where to find the links. And then Saturday, if you're in DC, the release party, a gramophone. See you there. And thank you again, Angie.
Cheers. Thank you. Take care.
Woo.